The provincial government. The city of Ottawa has no jurisdiction.
Don't take it.
Just say no. Just say no. The city of Toronto is the only city in Ontario that has the legal authority to deal with campaign contributions. So the province sets the rules. And what do they consider when they set the rules? They do a balance. They balance the need to be able to raise money to run a campaign, along with the need to ensure that you don't have to be rich to run. And they balance that against any possible undue influence. And then they arrive at a number that they say will be fairly certain of preventing any undue influence as a result of the contribution. And I'm glad that they set the number so low that nobody really believes that you can buy a vote from a member of council.
Would you support a motion to cancel unnamed and unticketed fundraisers? Would you support a motion? Would you support a motion, Rick?
Just as much.
Pull the string, you get the same answer.
Okay,
the province set the rules. The province set the rules. They have the legal authority to set the rules.
You have a bylaw interpretation which you can take.
Okay. Councillor Charlie mentioned that he wanted to thank all the individuals and businesses that finance his re-election campaign. And in 2010, it's available online, you can see it, and there were very few individuals. Like there were this many individuals. Like, was it 95% of your funding came from corporations? Almost no individuals support you. Who's going to give you money? Even with the rebate program where they get the money back. So
Rick bought $14 in campaign buttons. He supported his own campaign.
Well, that was
I guess he had enough money from developers.
That was a mistake. He had to resubmit his form because there were mistakes.
Good on you, Craig. Good on you for that.
Well, yes. And all I can say is, really, Rick does not have to take the corporate money. He should not take the corporate money. And I ask you, Councillor Charlie, please, are you willing? I know you're taking it. And we will know eventually, because it's public information, but only after the election. Are you prepared to reveal your corporate funding? Who's financing your campaign? Are you prepared to reveal the names, at least, of the corporations and individuals?
I think it's important.
Will you reveal it before the election?
I think it's important.
I think it's important
that everybody understands that
how
much
did Don Robertson give you?
House International.
Don Robertson.
And as a result of
what about the Don Robertson?
If people don't like the rules the province sets, they should be taking that up with their...
They should vote for change. They should vote for a councillor that will not accept campaign donations. They should vote for a councillor that thinks it's optically wrong. Not who doesn't want to stop the gravy train.
That would be me, not you. But
it's wrong. It's
everyone knows it's wrong. Everyone knows it's wrong. And
it makes you look bad, Rick. It really does.
And you don't need the money. You got all the advantages of incumbency. You could cakewalk to power with all the way you abuse your $250,000. And look at all the campaign literature that got sent out just before the blackout date. Apparently, that's not counted as campaign literature, but just look at it. It is campaign literature. Do you deny that this?
Let's look at an actual situation that happened
by the taxpayer.
Let's look at an actual situation that happened this week.
Here
on Tuesday.
One at a time, please.
On Tuesday, Mayor Watson had a fundraiser at Sen's house. Mayor Watson gave $75,000 of your money to 3 community associations to fight the Taggart-Miller dump. Yet on Tuesday, who do you think held the fundraiser for Jim Watson at Sen's house? Taggart-Miller. So Jim, come on.
Wait a minute.
Step up and change the rule. No, this is exactly what's wrong with unnamed fundraisers and unticketed fundraisers. You don't have to put your name towards a fundraiser. You just drive up, walk in with bags of cash, buy a table, shake a hand, eat some curry chicken favor, and get the curry chicken from Jim after the election. It's wrong and it should be stopped. Let's take the lead that Toronto took. Stop the gravy train. I hate to use Rob Ford's motto, but you know what, folks? You are getting your money wasted. And on one hand, they're sucking and blowing in the same breath.
I couldn't have said it better. Vote for Guy.
Okay, actually, Guy Annable, you've got 30 seconds to wrap up on this if you want to say anything more on this topic.
There's a lot of things at City Hall that are broken, folks. I can't even start to begin. Campaign financing is one of them. but the sheer fact that year after year and election after election, people say, oh, you can't buy me for $750, and people that go into these fundraisers with bags of cash and walk out with contracts a couple of years later. Peter Hume collected $22,500 in the 2006 election. From who? Probably the company that supported the Orga-World contract.
Well,
we'll never know because it's an unnamed fundraiser. Change the rules.
Thank you. And I'll remind everybody when I'm directing a question to a candidate and they have that 1 minute or they have the 30 seconds at the end, that belongs to them exclusively, so no one else should be speaking during that time. Thank you. Let's move on to another question for Scott McLaren's, and I want to come back to this issue of garbage. We touched on it in the context of accountability, but do you support continuing with bi-weekly garbage collection, or do you think we should go back to weekly collection? You have a minute.
I think when we look at the issue of bi-weekly and weekly garbage pickup, we could do this as a sort of a combined effort. We could be weekly in the summer when we are having the maggots and the rot and the stink, and go back when we have, Ottawa winters, and go to bi-weekly in winter, saving ourselves money, but getting rid of that nuisance that we currently have sitting in our garages. But I think overall, we're looking at this entirely the wrong way. We need to look at a new way of dealing with our waste. And to just throw it in a landfill is not the solution. After we're letting it rot for 2 weeks at the end of our laneway anyway, what's the point in just throwing it in another landfill, another expanding landfill, another built landfill? That's a complete waste of all this effort. What's the saving in the long run there?
Okay, it's open to everyone now. Go ahead.
Can I get the first...
Scott,
go ahead, Rick.
I think Scott's exactly right.
Keep it brief, okay?
Scott's exactly right. I wish I could, I'd love to give you false promises that we're going to return to weekly garbage collection, but that's never going to happen. Council's never going to make that happen. They'll never approve it.
Whoa, you just lost the election. You can't go against weekly garbage. It's a hot button topic.
Scott's suggestion that we deal with some extra pickups in the summer, if that's possible without extreme extra cost to the city, that's something I think we could look at. But we have to do something to avoid our need for a new dump. So whether we're concerned about the environment and we see diverting all recyclables as the answer, or whether we see it as an opportunity to move us to energy from waste or incineration, the solution is the same. We need to divert our recyclables and bring ourselves to a position where the provincial government will consider granting us a license for energy from waste projects or even incineration. The province has only granted one license in the last 25 years, and that license carried very strict conditions. And those conditions are, you must be diverting all of your recyclables, so green bin, blue bin, black box, before you can use incineration. So if someone wants incineration, or energy from waste, or just using organic separation as the solution, it all has the same prescription. That prescription is we collect the stinky, wet garbage in the green bin every week, and we collect the dry and non-stinky garbage every second week. But the idea that we will someday
there's lots of time,
flip back to what we had in the 70s or what we had 10 years ago or 8 years ago, the idea that we're going to flip back and collect the dry, odorless garbage every week and the wet, odor-filled garbage in the green bin only every second week. That's just not going to happen. And if it ever did happen, we would give up our opportunity to do some of the things that Scott was mentioning. So I urge everybody to take a long-term view of this. Do you want to dump?
On the garbage issue, I think there's a lot of hypocrisy here because I've seen what I think the part of the garbage solution is to make less garbage. And when I go by Councillor Trelli's house and I see really let's not. Garbage is an important issue to everyone, but I'm getting tired of hearing about it. And as I told you, I've pledged zero means zero means zero. And one part of the zero is, I'm not going to impose my views on anything else. So should we have weekly garbage in College Ward? Personally, I don't think so. I'm a big supporter of the green bin program. But if that's what people want in College Ward, what do the people at College Ward want? Do you want weekly garbage, knowing that it's going to lead to environmental disaster? I think we need to make the program better. And I don't think we need a lecture from Councillor Charlie on garbage, because especially after he won't even read the contract. It's just hypocrisy for him to pose as a...
If I may interject, Craig, and thank you for those comments. Probably the single most important issue to the residents in College Ward
is garbage. No,
restoring their
integrity. It's honesty.
Let me finish.
Yes.
Okay. That is probably the biggest issue that I'm hearing at the door. By the time we get the green bin bill, it'll probably be close to $300 million. That is unfortunate crime, because we should have a road to incineration. I fully agree with Scott on this. We need a 10-year plan in Halton. Craig, please.
Okay, sorry.
In 10 years, Halton, it took 10 years for Halton to build an incinerator. It cost $250 million to build that incinerator. And it's going to cost us almost $300 million for the green bin when the total bill is in. We got so off the rails in 2003 because everything had to be green and everything had to be diverted. And to Mr. Chiarelli's comment, to get to that 60% diversion rate did not require a source organics program. It required green, it required black and blue box recycling. But now we've ridden the horse of Glasgow, which we've given 3 extensions to, and because of the stream of the Plasco system, we are not going to be able to turn Plasco into our road to incineration.
Can I ask you a question, please?
Yes, go ahead, Craig.
Okay. Do you use your green bin?
Absolutely, I do.
Councillor Charlie, why don't you?
If not, I'd have maggots in my garbage every week.
Well, go vegetarian, then you won't have maggots.
Well, that's why we lost our weekly garbage, Craig.
Maggots?
The only reason we lost our weekly garbage was to bring the green bin numbers up on a contract that this councillor didn't read. They couldn't pick up a calculator, and Rick actually participated in one of the trials.
I know that.
Jan Harder said, if you think we're going to hit 80,000 tons, you're in la-la land, and then she voted for the contract. Okay. God bless Gord Hunter.
Right. Let's stop there. Thank you very much. We'll go back to Scott McLaren. You've got 30 seconds on your own to wrap up on this topic. Go ahead.
All I can say on this topic is that in my time going door to door, this is a big issue. People want, at least in the summer when we have that rot, the weekly garbage pickup. It needs to be done, but that's short term, and we also need to look, as I was insinuating earlier, at incineration to deal with this long term, to get rid of the dumps, to get rid of this long-term waste, and perhaps sell that energy back on the grid and help out the city itself.
All right, we'll stop there, and we'll move on to another topic now. I'll direct this question to Rick Chiarelli. I want to talk about crime and safety, because as Ottawa has grown as a city, I think this has become an increasing concern to many residents that we're starting to have some big city problems. We've seen an increase in the number of shootings this year, for example, over last year. And I know Ottawa is still, by comparison, a very safe city. But is there a concern about this, and what are we doing about it? What should the city do about protecting its residents?
Okay, well, certainly it's a concern. And I think the solutions often are things that people don't take seriously enough. We've heard the police chief on several occasions say, tell everyone, policing is not just the job of the police, it's also the job of the community. And 10 years ago, the Morrison Gardens area was one of the highest crime rate areas in the entire city. And we moved in there with a number of positive programs and with the assistance of Crime Prevention Ottawa. And we established their first neighborhood watch. And we had a community, again, that was crime-laden, community members stepping forward, participating in Neighborhood Watch in partnership with the police. We had the police bring in new measures, including Youth on the Move, to assist in the fight against crime there. Today, Morrison Gardens' crime rate is over 75% lower than it was then, and it's one of the lower for that type of of community in the entire city.
Well, I've been to Morrison Gardens too, and I don't think you're going to get a single vote in there, so...
Go ahead, it's open to everyone now.
Well, on the issue of crime, I think we need less of it. I'm against crime. Scott, do you want to...
No. I agree with you completely on that point.
You're against crime too?
Yes, I am.
I know Rick's against crime, but so why does he conduct... well, no, I'm not saying he conducts criminal activity. I'm not saying that he deserves to be jailed, but come on, if we're talking crime is important, but I think the root causes of crime, if you want to look at the root causes of crime, I think it's criminals who are the root causes of crime. And they're looking at our politicians and they're saying, wow, they're on the scam, why can't we? You know, I think we've got to look beyond the facile solutions. We've got to address the issue of gang crime. The residents of Bell's Corners, and I'm sure every other part of College Ward, are terrorized by these thugs, or go out at 3 o'clock in the morning and go through your car, go through your garage. My neighbor lost 2 bikes the other day. We have to deal with crime by setting the example as politicians. You know, if there's crime at the top, there's going to be crime at the bottom. I think we need some more opportunities for youth rather than... We need jobs, basically.
Seriously, folks, crime is a serious matter.
I agree there.
In College Ward, we don't have the experience that Bay Ward, Gloucester South, and Vanier have. There are specifically 3 areas, and this is a citywide issue. This is not a ward issue, but I bring those 3 wards to bear because they have particular problems with crime in those areas. One of the planks in my platform is to give Ottawa housing some teeth and to have an audit of the 22,400 social housing units that we manage in this city, because a lot of your crime comes out of those social housing units. For whatever reason, I do applaud Rick Shirelli and the Ottawa Police Chief Bordelot with regards to their initiatives on mentoring children, and the Ottawa Boys and Girls Club and getting kids off the street is the best way of doing that. But the problem is drugs. The problem is people that are socially disadvantaged are making money using Ottawa housing as their front to sell these drugs. We can't throw people out of a social housing complex that easily. We can't audit as well as we should, but yet we have program managers and $100,000 a year salaried people that basically are stakeholders in this, and we need Ottawa housing to be given more teeth by the city and by the police department to clean the problem up.
I agree with you, Guy, about the...
Thanks, Craig.
Well, not on everything, though. But I agree with you that... what was that? I agree with you that the drugs business and the gangs business... I don't think you should be picking on people who live in... It sounds like you're picking on those poor people. But anyway, I think another angle to this is youth need more sports opportunities. Really, something to do, someplace to hang out. And a small micro example is in Bell's Corners, where the outdoor rinks were beautiful. All the kids would show up there free, and we need sports activities. Everything's been shut down in Bell's Corners. The outdoor rinks in Lewin Park have been taken over by Rick's pseudo community association. So I think we need to use our existing resources, give kids some physical education opportunities. It's not the answer for everyone, but it's a lot better than just spouting. What are they called? Anyway, pass. Truisms. No, not truisms. Bullshit, I think I was trying to say.
Again, to Councillor Shirelli's credit, I live right by Morrison Gardens, and there has been a marked improvement in the reduction of crime in those areas.
A lot of crime goes unreported, though.
Absolutely, Craig, but the key thing is, it's the crime you hear about. It's the crime, the stabbings and the guns and the gangs and the markets and the shootings at 2 o'clock in the morning. We spend $528 million on our police budget. Why can't we put some cameras in these troubled areas to basically use the same strategy that London, England has used in their social housing? Why can't we use some best practices that other municipalities like New York are using in their public housing by putting cops on bikes and having more foot patrols? The bottom line is, we know when it happens. It's Friday and Saturday night. It's Friday and Saturday night. And what happens as soon as the call comes in, there's 12 police cars that come raging up the street on Ritchie or Poulin and Bay Ward. There's a big problem. Why can't we put more boots on the ground all the time if we know the times that this crime is happening? And again, targeting these gangs in the cars and the parking lots in the city are being used as drug drop zones. Yep. Do you know how many times I've seen the swanked out bling car sitting in a McDonald's parking lot waiting for another person to jump in and jump out? We need our police at the front lines of these places, and we need to give them more powers to be able to search and seize these cars when there's reasonable grounds to be able to do so.
We'll stop there. We'll go back to Rick Shirelli for 30 seconds.
Okay, well, I think experience really matters here, and it really produces results, because when Morrison Gardens used to be an awful lot like Bay Ward. In fact, it used to have a higher crime rate than Bay Ward. And we went in there with positive solutions. We turned it around. I know firsthand some of the problems that we have to deal with. We've worked hand in glove with the community police officer. We've set up seminars for seniors to avoid being victims of scams. And we've done an awful lot to fix this problem, and we'll continue to do so.
Thank you. And we have time for one more question, but we won't have any debate, so I'm just going to ask a question, and each of you will get a chance to respond to it. You'll have 30 seconds, and then we'll move to the closing statement. So the question is, and I'll start with Craig McCauley, do you support the plan for Phase 2 of light rail, and do you think the money will be there from other levels of government to pay for it? You've got 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Only 30 seconds to talk about light rail? Well, okay, in 30 seconds I'll say I don't really support it, but I don't see at this point we have any choice. I'm certainly not going to push the reset button on that. So we're going to, unlike other people, we can't go back on that. But it is a terribly flawed plan, and I think it's time to make some changes. So I support it because it's too late now, but it's not going to help College Ward at all, really.
Thank you. Guy Annable, you're next. You've got 30 seconds. Go ahead.
I agree with Craig on this one point, that we can't go back on light rail Phase 2. But the key problem is...
One at a time, please.
The key problem is we have a light rail system in Stage 1 that ends at Tunney's Pasture. So anybody from College Ward or Canada will take an express bus, which takes approximately 15 minutes to get to Tunney's Pasture, through one of the award-winning transit ways that Andy Hayden set up, and we'll stop at Tunney's Pasture to transfer to a train for a 90-second downtown trip to get to their office. Okay. That was bad planning.
All right. Scott McLaren, Craig McCauley, you've had your turn on this, so please allow the other candidates to speak now. You've got 30 seconds, Scott.
I think the one thing we're forgetting to mention here is if you are getting that express bus, the bus services in College Ward are bad overall, but I think now that it is too late to get back on this plan, we can look at this as a good thing. There will be buses off the road, which we can, I guess, appropriate for our use. We have a college there. Students need to get to and from school. I myself spent 6 years getting to Carleton down the 118. It's miserable. I think we can relocate those resources.
Okay. We'll stop there. Thank you. Rick Shirelli.
Of course, I support Phase 2 of light rail, and I do believe we're going to get support from the senior levels of government. We already have one of them committed. I'm really proud of the first steps we're taking. When Toronto was our size, that's when they started their subway system. And now we have an opportunity to move to that type of rapid transit as well. We have the new Baseline Station tunnel, which is created underground. It's massive, and yet most people don't even know it's there. And when the trains get to that, College Ward is going to be the hub and very connected to Phase 2.
We'll stop there, and we'll move to the closing statements. Once again, each candidate will have 1 minute for a closing statement, and we'll do them in the reverse order of the opening statement. So, Guy Annable, you're up first. You've got 60 seconds. Go ahead.
On October 27th, once every 4 years, you have a choice for mayor and council. The last 4 years has been a rocky ride, from losing your garbage to green bin contracts that the incumbent doesn't read, and to say that he was being misled by city staff. If you can't read a contract, you're not doing your job. That was one of the triggers that made me run. please visit my website, www.guyannable.ca. It's on the bottom of your screen. There is a number of videos on my website, which I painstakingly took a lot of time to edit. One is Ken Hughes' delivery of the July 9th audit to City Council members. It is the only recorded archive of Ken delivering the recommendations for the green bin audit. That will go down in the city's history as a very, very black mark. It was a crime, folks. And light rail transit and the abdication of duties for city lands to only report back to City Council after the lands have been purchased.
That's time. Thank you. Next up is Craig McCauley. You've got 1 minute. Go ahead.
Okay, zero means zero means zero. My first promise, I'll accept zero money from the taxpayer. Second promise, I will spend zero money on getting elected. Third promise, I will exercise zero personal power once elected. I have some questions for my opponents. I'm going to put them on my website, especially the questions for Rick. Like, why did you lie about Don Robertson, as Earl McCrae and the Sun said? Lots of interesting questions. So go to my website. It's bellscorners.wordpress.com. Bells, well, you get that anyway. So please, it's time for a change. It's time to end corruption. It's time to end bullying. It's time to end lying. It's time for accountability, transparency, and time for a new politician, a new type of politician, the anti-politician like me. Zero means zero means zero. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry that was so late.
Next, Rick Shirelli. You've got 60 seconds. Go ahead.
Thanks, Mark. We need experience now more than ever at City Hall. This election, an unprecedented number of veteran city councillors are not seeking re-election. And that means we need to rely on the experience we have available to help make council work smoothly. And council has been working smoothly this last 4 years, especially compared to the previous few terms. We have been bang on at delivering taxes at the targeted amount, at or about inflation. We've produced the Lansdowne development, which I played a major role in and was one of the leaders. And we've turned our attention to protecting the character of our neighborhoods like Bel Air, Centre Point, City View, Ryan Farm, and Crestview by getting measures in place to prevent illegal rooming houses and illegal home conversions.
Okay, so we'll have to stop there. Thank you. Finally, Scott McLaren, go ahead. You've got 1 minute as well.
At this point in time, with so many councillors moving on, we have a chance for a big change. We can bring in change at every level. I think, as we've shown today, there are options for change. We can look at any number of candidates, but I like to think that I've shown a level head, and I guarantee you at least a dedication to hard work. As you know, our incumbent, Rick Shirelli, came in young with a promise of hard work. I think I too can bring you that hard work, that dedication, and I don't think we need to look at my re-election in 4 years. I think we can turn this into an election-by-election basis, looking at what's best for the community as each moment passes.
Okay, thank you very much to all the candidates for participating in the debate, and thank you for watching. We'll see you again next time on the local campaign.